All right. Well, in the interest of everybody's time, let's go ahead and get started. We'll make this short, simple, and easy today. My name is Patrick Harris. For those of you who don't know, I'm one of the sales reps here at Stewart Title. My job is to make your guys' life easier. If you guys have title and escrow questions, if you think you have a silly question that you don't want to embarrass yourself, you're not going to embarrass yourself. There's a million questions out there that I can answer for you, but that's what I'm here to help you with. I'm here to show you guys some cool marketing ideas, some cool lead ideas, talk about farming, net sheets, you name it. That's what I'm here to do for you guys. Today, we're going to be talking about business planning. Now, I think you guys all probably saw the email, but today's original topic was going to be escrow horror stories because, you know, it's Halloween, so we got to do something spooky. However, Joanne is out of the office today working on some extra stuff, so she has elected to move that to November. So our next class in November, you guys will see that. We'll do the same thing. We're going to order some good food, make sure it's sitting on your guys' doorstep, and we'll talk about escrow horror stories then. So in the meantime, everybody should have gotten an email from me about an hour ago that had the Breakthrough Broker business plan and marketing success plan. So if you didn't receive that, let me know in the chat or just raise your hand or let me know, and I'll make sure to send that over to you. You guys are going to need to at least be able to look at it. If you want to fill it out while we're doing this today, that'd be fantastic because then we can all fill it out together and make sure we're doing well. But if you guys don't want to do that, just make sure you have it handy so you can put little notes on there and make sure that you understand what you're doing next. So I'm going to share my screen really quick. Make sure that you guys can see it. All right. Can everybody see the business success plan?
Yes.
Cool. I see a couple thumbs up. All right, that's good. Just a couple ground rules today. Feel free to interrupt me at any time if you have any questions. This worksheet breaks down a bunch of numbers. It's going to talk about expenses, how much you expect to spend next year, how much you need to pay for taxes, and then it's going to break it down all the way to what you need to make, how many buyers you need to meet, how many sellers you need to meet. So it's going to be good numbers for you to have going into the year 2022. But if you get left behind or you need to pull out your calculator, don't feel bad about throwing up a hand and saying, hey, wait for me. I have a question. Okay. Christy, it looks like you did not receive it. So let me send this to you really quite quickly. That way you're not left out here. So everybody, please hold just for a minute. All right, Christy, I just sent that your way. It's a bit of a large PDF, so it might take a moment to show up. All right, so let's get started on our success plan. The very first part that you're going to see is just an introduction. It's going to talk about how this is a cool PDF. It helps you get all sorts of numbers, everything that I just said. The first thing we're going to look at is part one, setting sights on your target, where you determine your personal monthly expenses. So on the far right, this is where you're going to start putting in numbers like how much do you pay for your mortgage? How much is your car payment? How much do you spend on gas? Make sure that everything is per month. So by raise of hands, just so I kind of know the pace that we need to go by today, do you guys want to fill this out together? Or would you guys prefer to just have me run through this, tell you what numbers to put in, you guys can do it later?
Personally, I need to gather some of this information.
Okay.
I just don't know it off the top of my head. So.
Okay. So if everybody's okay, then I'm just going to run through this and throw some numbers up there, and we might go a little bit quicker. And then if you guys decide that you guys want to sit down and do this one-on-one, I'm more than happy to do that with you guys. But is everybody okay with that? Cool. All right. So let's go ahead and throw some numbers up there. So let's say, for example, our monthly mortgage is $1,500. We have a car payment because everybody bought a car recently, and car gas, unfortunately, just keeps going up. So, you know, we spend about $1,000 a month. You can fill out all sorts of other numbers. Now, if you've got the interactive PDF style, which is kind of cool, it'll autofill down here for you. Otherwise, you'll have to pull out a calculator, and then you're going to have to times it by 12. So you take this monthly total right here, times it by 12. That's how much you're spending per year. If I had to guess, probably would say most people are spending closer to like 3,500 right now just because of inflation and everything. So let's just add some numbers really quick in here. Get that just a little bit closer. All right. We want to make this a little bit more realistic for you guys. So 3,500 a month, you're spending about 42,000 a year. Now, target take home. So on page 3, this is how much you want to take home. Now, don't include taxes yet. Don't include broker commissions, anything like that. We're going to work through that. But my one suggestion, simple math, your target take home should be higher than the expenses you just came up with. If this number is lower than that, then we have some economic issues and we might need to go back to class. So I'm seeing a couple of people nodding. That's a good sign. So let's just throw up a number. Let's say we want to break into the six digits next year. We're going to make 100,000.
Are we talking monthly or yearly for target take home?
This is going to be yearly. Yep. So it'll be a yearly target take home. So for us, we're just going to throw up 100,000. And what it's going to do next is it's going to say, it's going to ask about taxes, and it's going to increase your take home by that amount to make sure that you're still getting that take home. Now we're going to say you're making enough to cover taxes as well. So your target take home of 100,000, that's going to go in the first box of row C on the next page. So 100,000. And we're also going to equate for taxes what your tax rate is. Now, of course, everybody has done taxes before. Everybody's tax rate is a little bit different. Most people are somewhere in between the 20%, usually about 15% to about 30%. So figure out what your tax rate is in there. For easier purposes, we're just going to say 25. We don't need to put a decimal. So it'll be 25 divided by 100 is 25%. 1 minus 0.25 is 0.75. So simple math, but it's just saying that to make sure you still take home 100,000, you're going to divide it by 0.75. And you should be bringing home $133,333. And then Uncle Sam will take that $333,000 out. So does that make sense to everybody? Everybody following so far? Cool. All right, I see some nodding heads. All right, so this number right here, 133,333, we're going to take that and put that on page 6. And that's going to go, again, in row C, that very first box. So if you've got a printout, you're going to jump just a couple pages ahead. Now, this is the part where we're going to talk about your broker cut. It's the commission split that you guys have. Is anybody willing to volunteer? If I remember right from years past, I believe it's 15%. I could be wrong if anybody's willing to volunteer a number.
I think it's 70-30.
70-30?
70-30 in the beginning, depending on how much you make, and then it can change.
Okay, right. And I knew there was something about that going on. Oh, just a second. Sorry, I had somebody outside my office really quick. So for the sake of our argument, we're just going to say 30% for what's going on here. If you guys feel like you need to change that because you guys know you're going to hit a certain number, feel free to change it. Now, we're going to follow the same rules that it had before. So it's going to be that 30 number divided by 100. You'll get 0.3. 1 minus 0.3 is going to be 0.7. So it'll be your taxable income divided by the 0.7. Now, if you have a capped commission split or have guaranteed that at all, you can work in the very middle of page 6 and you can fill that out. And that's just a straightforward commission cap. So it did everything for us. Now it's saying we need to make 190,475 before our commission split and before taxes for next year. Does that make sense to everybody so far, right? I haven't left anybody behind? Cool. All right, that's good. Now, the next part right here, we're going to be putting in costs of doing business because we want to cover that as well. We need to fill out just some of the numbers that you guys might have handy. So especially the people who have just gone through their licenses, you guys will be able to help us out with this. Board dues. So I believe that board dues are going to be, if I remember right, they're $900, and then the application fee is another $400. Does that sound right to anybody?
And then the MLS fee.
Right.
which is the very first time I think is $384.
384. Excellent. I think Washoe County has the application fees included in that. If anybody remembers differently, just let me know. The desk fees. So if you guys decide to hold a desk while you guys are at Sierra Nevada Properties, those range anywhere, I believe, from about $50 to $100 a month. So feel free to put that in, but if you're still planning to work from home and not use the desk, you don't have to put that in. And then also your license application and renewal fee. So that'll be different for everybody. You guys probably already paid your application fees, otherwise you wouldn't be sitting here, but you might want to calculate in your renewal fee. If I remember right, that's $150. Does that sound about right to everybody? A bunch of, who knows? So we'll put in 150, and then E&O insurance. Does Daryl offer you guys E&O insurance already?
It's on our office bill.
Isn't it quarterly?
Yes,
Yeah.
Every
quarterly.
Okay.
About,
So
I think like 160 every 3 months or 180 every 3 months.
Okay, so 60 or 180 every 3 months. So that's probably, yeah. So I guess we could probably put in 60 just to be safe.
The E&O is $185 per quarter.
185 per quarter. All right. So let's go ahead and put, in that case, let's bump it up to 65. That'll be a little bit more than 180 per quarter. So you guys can just put in 65, whether that's under desk fees or E&O. That way you guys have it. You guys might need to put in something for education, whether you guys are taking post-licensing or CE classes. Those always range somewhere between $100 to $200 to get all of your guys' courses done for the whole entire year. So be sure to plan for that. And then obviously you can put in any additional other expenses. Maybe you know that you want to handle marketing, or you know that working with Sierra Nevada Properties, you're always going to have to pay Jeremy through the postcard system or something like that. So make sure that you put in some extra. So
Patrick?
right there. Oh, go ahead.
Are you putting these, are these monthly?
Yes.
And then it totals for the annual?
Oh, you know what? I totally messed that up. You are correct. This should be annual, and I'm just doing monthly, aren't I? Okay. I went completely the wrong direction. Thank you. I appreciate that. So
Yeah.
180 times 4. So that's 600 something. I think that's 640. My bad. Sorry about that, you guys. All right. So that bumps us up to about 2,600. You can always play it safe and you can bump it up and round it up to about $3,000, but just kind of keep in mind that that's what it's always going to be.
So would that include our marketing? Like you said, if we did postcards and stuff like that?
It does not yet.
Not yet. Okay.
You can either put that in here, or down here, you can add in annual business expenses, and you can add it in when you do it here. I always like to say just add it up here. That way you already have it. So maybe you're going to spend 500. Maybe you'll spend 1,000. So that'll bump you right up to 3,174. So that'll go right in the middle of the next page, which is page 7. And this income before commission split, you'll go back here and get this number. So that's 190,475 for us. All right, now plus 3,174. So your targeted GCI, this is how much you're going to want to make. That way you can pay taxes, you can pay broker, you can pay for all your expenses, and you're still taking home $100,000 a year. You're going to need to make about $193,649. Now, I agree with you, Rebecca. This is where everybody kind of gets like, oh my gosh, that's way too much. There's no way. Trust me.
This money we spend a month on this stuff too. My God.
Yeah, this gets much more fun because now we're going to take that number and we're going to break it down into kind of how many deals you guys are going to have to get, and it won't seem nearly as daunting once you break it down into deals. So before we move on to deals and volume and everything like that, does anybody have any questions about the GCI and how we got there, anything like that? Okay, everybody's following along. That's good. All right, so we're going to remember this number, 193,649. because that is going on page 9 at the very, very top under B. So that is 194, or oops, 3619. All right, now the next thing is going to be your average commission percentage. So this is going to be your target sales volume, how much you need to sell, not personally, but just target sales volume. So amount that every house added up that you sell is going to equal. So traditionally it's 3%. Hopefully you guys aren't compromising that in any way. I'm sure Daryl does a bunch of training about stick to your 3%, earn the business that you keep. Does that sound about right?
Yes, however, when you're representing a buyer, you're more likely to get 2.5.
Right. So it depends on, that's where I was going next. I'm happy to put in 3, which is probably what that's what I'll put in here for you guys. However, if you guys feel that you might be working with more buyers this year and you need to change that number a little bit, feel free to change it and put in 2.5%. So 3 divided by 100. So target sales volume, we're going to be selling $6,454,966 worth of real estate. So seems a little daunting, but we're about to break it down and make it just a little bit easier for you guys. So take that number, the sales volume, and move it to the bottom of the page. So 6,454,966 and the average sales price. So the average sales price here in Reno right now is just a little bit under 400,000. You got to put in a number that works for you guys. So for example, Rebecca, you're in Fernley, so you should probably be using a Fernley sales price that's a median. If you are working primarily with buyers and you are interested in working with, first-time families, maybe a little bit lower income, you might want to change the sales price. You might be working more in the $300,000, $400,000 range. Now, if you're like, shooting for the stars and you know that you're going to be working in Incline Village in Montreux, then you can change this number and you can say my average sales price is going to be closer to 900,000, maybe $1 million. So this is where you really need to cater it towards what your business is going to be. Because we're trying to stick with the average right here, I'm going to put in 390, which was the kind of the average price that I saw at the end of September. Now that means that I will need to do 16.5 transactions next year, which was a little scary, a little daunting, but nonetheless, it's not entirely impossible. So you can't really do 16.5, so I am going to bump that up to 17. So take your number, and this is the number you're going to need to remember moving forward, because we're about to break it down into buyers and sellers. All right, so on page 10 in the very middle, on the bottom, go ahead and put that number in the very middle. We just put in 17, and now we need to assess our business. What percentage of our business will be sellers and what percentage will be buyers? Now, obviously, as a first-time agent, you guys may be leaning a little heavier towards buyers, whereas agents who have been here a little longer, might be a bit more seasoned, are obviously going to be leaning a little bit more towards seller. Your sphere is a little bit bigger. So completely depends on you guys. For us, I'm going to put in probably 0.2 for sellers and 0.8 for buyers. So that means, that means seller transactions, I'll need about 3, and buyer transactions, I'll need 14. Does that make sense to everybody so far? Okay. So that means we'll need 14 buyer clients, 3 closed seller clients, and now we're going to move these down here. First, we're going to talk about sellers. So it just said, it took a weird number right there. So this number right here, the very first number on the next page, on page 11, should be that 14, or the 3 that we just came up with for the sellers. So that's how many transactions that we're going to need. Now we're talking about estimated success rate. So this is talking about once you actually have secured a listing or sat down with them, how often do you actually get a listing with them? So if you know that you can walk into a room, take a listing appointment, you know that you're going to get that listing, put 100% right here. If you feel like you walk in and it's kind of half and half, you're a little bit more selective with the people that you're working with, change the number accordingly. I think 0.8 is probably a pretty good number to work with. especially with the tools that Daryl supplies for you guys when it comes to listing presentations, being able to run a net sheet and talk people through the different scenarios. Once you're through that door, you guys should have a pretty good success rate. Where I am going to change that number is down here with the estimated success rate for the actual, once you have the house and you're trying to help sell it, that success rate can vary a little bit more. So on the very top, we need 3 transactions for the seller side. Success rate is 3.8. So we're going to need 3.75 listings required. We're going to move that number to the bottom left, and we're just going to round that up to 4. And we're going to change our success rate just a little bit. And we're going to say 0.75. So that means that you're going to need about 5 target listing appointments. So that means just make sure that you're getting just a little bit more success. Make sure that you have a couple more appointments to make sure that you're hitting those numbers for the sales. There's just a couple more things you guys will have to worry about on there. Does that make sense for everybody so far? How we got to the number 5 and how we decided to do targets and appointments and all that. Okay, so the very next one on page 12, this is going to be the buyer side. This is a little bit easier. So we're going to take that number that we got for the buyers before. We need to close 14 buyer transactions, and now we need to put the success rate. 0.9 is really, really good for success rate. That's 90% of your buyers, you're going to have them close. However, our world is a little bit different because of the pandemic and because of all the people moving into the city with a little bit more cash. Working with buyers right now is a little bit more difficult. I think we can all agree, some of us who are on the call, that we've had buyers a little bit longer than we're used to, and we're still looking for them. So this number, I would be more confident if that number was a little bit lower, maybe closer to a 0.6 or a 0.7. What do you guys think? All right. What I have just from what I have heard on the street, most people are saying it's a little bit more than half of the clients that they're working with have success and they're getting into homes, and the rest of them, it's not that they've lost the client, just the client is struggling just a little bit more. So that is going to end with us having 23 buyer's side clients that we need to have to make sure that we close the amount that we need. Now, before we move on to our next piece and how to get those leads, all of these numbers that we just came up with, you have to put on the very last page. Well, you don't have to, but it's encouraged. If you've got the interactive one where PDF does it for you, it'll move all those numbers and put them at the very, very end for you. So it'll be kind of a nice one sheet that tells you, I want to take home 100,000. That means that I need to get 23 buyers and 5 listing appointments next year. So little bit different, not as huge of a number. What do you guys think? I don't know if anybody ran their numbers while I was doing it as well, but once you see those numbers, it's not quite as daunting, I hope.
I think it's awesome.
Yeah.
I like in order to plan and actually set realistic goals.
Mhm.
This for somebody that's still waiting on our license, this looks. I mean, I definitely am going to utilize this.
Right, definitely. And it helps put some numbers on the board, because now you can take those and say, okay, I need 5 listing appointments. I have 12 months next year. I'm going to get 1 in January, 1 in April, maybe 2 in the middle of the summer, and then I'll shoot for 1 in the fall/winter. So now you can kind of plan out your year and make sure that you're staying on track. Now, the big question that I've always gotten at the end of this is, well, now that I have my numbers, what do I do? How do I go get it? And luckily, we have an idea page right here. That's page 13. But we also have another file that I sent to you guys that talks about marketing plans and gives you guys ideas. So obviously on here, you guys have heard all about these. You guys can do direct mailers, postcards right to people's houses. There are some agents in your guys' office, they wear their name tags everywhere they go. And they get people asking about it in grocery stores, in bank lines. Be sure to wear your name tag. Make sure people know. It should be the first thing out of your lips. When you're at a party, when you're at the Halloween party this coming, not this weekend, but the next, when you're talking to your relatives, you don't necessarily have to push the sales, but when people say, hi, how are you? What do you do? It should be the first thing that you say. I'm an agent at Sierra Nevada Properties, and let them break the conversation later. There are thousands and thousands of ideas out there that you guys can do. You can even do door hangers on people's doors if you're afraid of talking to people. So There's ways to do it. Now, before we move on to the marketing plan and kind of start talking about, hey, we need listing appointments. How do we start getting these leads? Do you guys have any questions on the numbers that I just did? How we got to those numbers? Maybe a note that you missed that you need to write down? Everybody good? Cool. That's what I like to hear. All right. Well, this is going to go pretty fast and pretty easy. This one takes a little bit more thought because we're going to have you guys sit and actually think about who are you as a realtor? What do you need to do to make yourself successful? If we wanted to, this class could go on for another 2 hours because we're talking about what makes you you. But nobody wants to sit here for another 2 hours because you guys have more classes to go to. So the second file that I sent to you guys is our marketing action plan. And it's going to walk you through some short-term and long-term goals. And then it's going to start talking about what makes you the realtor that you are and why people should work with you. Now, short-term goals and long-term goals. The first thing that you should be putting on both of those is all the numbers that we just found out. So number one for your short-term goals should be in January or in the next 3 months, I'm going to meet with X amount of people. And on your long-term goals, on number one, the very first one you should write down is I'm going to get 5 listing appointments and 23 buyers for next year. So, easy peasy. We already filled one out for you. It does have a couple extra ideas down there just to kind of get your brain going. So maybe you're not comfortable with social media, but you know you want to break into it. You can put down some goals about maybe I'll start learning about Facebook or Instagram or what Twitter's all about, and I'll start building an audience. Maybe you decide I want to actually get more comfortable talking to people and talking to strangers. So maybe you'll put down a short-term goal of taking some classes or learning to get out of your shell. Maybe you're an extrovert and you just rush through too fast and you're not busy listening to everybody else. So you might need to focus your goals more on, hey, how can I still be an extrovert and be talkative with people, but get their business and convert more listing appointments into actual listings. So make sure, look through some ideas. If you guys would like to sit and brainstorm, I'll treat you guys to a cup of coffee and I'm happy to walk you through and talk for another 2 or 3 hours as long as you guys want. All right. So after we talk about goals, now we're going to start talking about core competency. So I'm sure this is a term Daryl has brought up to you guys before, and this is just my reinforcement of it. There are about 4,000 realtors in the city of Reno alone. So why should anybody be doing business with you? It's not meant to be discouraging. It's meant to be a challenge. And that's why you guys are in the business. You are a unique person. Everybody is. Everybody is good at something. Everybody brings something to the table that nobody else can. So use this list in front of you. Start coming up with some ideas. What makes you special? What's your personality? What type of people are you trying to work with? Maybe you want to be working with millennials who have a little bit of sass and moxie and they're looking for their first house. Maybe you are like the debonair, fancy dancy, love to work with the hoity-toities because you understand their world and you want to work with the Montreux people. Maybe you're just the average everyday, hey, I just want to help. I love helping people, and there's a place for you too as well. So these next 2 pages are all about focusing on who you are and why you're investing in your business. Now, there is one thing I do have to mention too. It's a little bit like acting. You don't necessarily need to personify yourself into every inch of your business. Being a realtor can sometimes be a bit of a brand. There are some realtors who I have met who on their business card and in their videos, they are this fancy dancy, fast talking, cool guy. And in person, I've never met somebody more shy. They're so shy. They just, we're just out for drinks and they don't really want to talk unless you start talking real estate. So it doesn't necessarily have to be your exact personality. It can be a character that you craft, but we're talking here about your brand and why people want to do business with you. So think about like Nike. When you think of Nike, everybody thinks of the swoosh and the just do it. You think about athletics and pushing harder. When you think of Disney, it's completely different. It's magic and Mickey Mouse and fireworks and all sorts of happiness. So every business is different. And that's why you guys get to separate yourselves, because in real estate, you've got 4,000 competitors and you might as well set yourself apart and do something different. So
Patrick,
Yeah.
I can back you up on that because I actually had someone ask me that question. So what makes you different from all of the other real estate agents out there, and why should I work with you? And that question really took me by surprise.
Right? It puts you on the spot.
Yeah. So, I mean, I came up with an answer, but this is a good exercise.
Good. I'm glad. Now, the last thing I wanted to mention in this before I move on, the 2 words to completely avoid in your core competency is good. Well, I guess it's 3 words. Good customer service. Customer service is something that everybody in the world expects and everything that you guys should be giving. So hopefully your core competency, and hopefully I didn't just burst anybody's bubble, but your core competencies or why you're special should not include good customer service. So just a little bit of helpful tips. We just had a big marketing seminar, and I guess those are the three buzzwords that just instantly turn people off. So I found that out. Now, once you guys have done those last 2 pages, you're going to come up with your brand message. Think of this as your elevator speech, or as Alana just mentioned, when somebody kind of puts you on the spot, hey, why you? This is going to be your answer. You're going to boil down everything that you just found out into a sentence, 2 at the most, and just make sure that it's something that people want to ask a question about. You don't need to give them all the answers right away. Think of it like a book. You don't read the book because you get all the answers in the first 10 pages. You read it because in the first 10 pages, it invites you in, it sets up a mystery, and you move on. So, for example, at Stewart Title, kind of our go-to is if somebody asks us what we're doing or who we are or what we do, we don't talk about, we do title and escrow and we file things with the government, we help properties close. Our leading line is we protect property rights and we give people peace of mind that their property is theirs. And it's enough information that most people are like, oh, cool. All right. That's interesting. And the people who really want to know more, it invites them in and they say, well, what do you mean property rights? What do you do? So make sure that your brand messaging encompasses everything we just talked about and also invites people to ask more. Well, why are you good at that? Or how did you learn that? Or why do you do that? So make sure that it does that. Now, the last piece that we're going to be talking about are marketing activities. In here, it creates a detailed budget for you, and it goes over every single month. So this is kind of right up the alley of people who are uncomfortable with marketing and how do I get started and what do I even do? It's going to ask you on page, I believe it's page 10, 9 or 10. It's going to first ask you how much do you want to spend a year? And then it'll help you break down into monthly budget goals, and it lists out every single day of the year for the whole entire year. So you can say Monday, that very first week of January, I need to do stuff all concerning, Happy New Year. I'm going to do social media. I'm going to go meet people at the store. Everything's going to be about Happy New Year. Now, maybe you want to move down to March because, in the middle of March, it's St. Patrick's Day. And this whole entire week, you want to do marketing that's catered toward that event. It breaks down every single day, every single week for the whole entire year. It also gives ideas too about what you can be doing. So over here, it's going to talk about postcards, letterheads, any covers, anything like that. So you guys should have this. You can look at it with much more detail and get some new ideas out of it. Once you're all the way done, that brings you to the end of the booklet because I believe, that's the very end. So it helps walk through everything marketing, sets up who you are, how you do what you do, and also helps get an idea on marketing skills that you can start using. When it comes to some of the marketing stuff, most of the materials you can ask Jeremy about. Jeremy helps create the postcards. Cassie there as well creates a lot of marketing materials for you guys. If you guys are struggling or looking for something new, we also have a website called Breakthrough Broker that creates free materials. They're already pre-made, so you can't make those square pictures into circles, but you can customize it and make it your own. So if you guys are ever looking for door hangers, maybe you need a letter to send to a client, or maybe your client wants to live in a certain area and you want to send a letter and say, hey, my client likes your house. Are you willing to sell? Any type of marketing ideas like that, we have those as well. So we're more than happy to help you there. This is pretty much all I've got for you guys, except for my invitation that if you guys saw all this and you're maybe feeling a little overwhelmed and you'd like to sit down, actually do a one-to-one and kind of sit down and kind of talk some ideas through, I am more than happy to sit down with you guys over a cup of coffee or virtually or however you guys see fit, whatever you guys like. Any questions from the marketing plan?
I have a super quick question, and this is probably a really stupid question to the seasoned people. But how much does it cost? Like, say we were to farm a certain area and you were to get some addresses, like 100 addresses in a neighborhood for us. How much would that cost?
The good news is farming costs absolutely $0. The only reason that would change is there are a couple farms, a couple categories that do cost money. So for example, if you're looking for HOA delinquencies, people who haven't been paying their HOAs, that one does cost money. And that's usually about, I think it's about 5 or 10 cents a lead. It's not that expensive. But for the most part, anything that's public record is completely free to be able to use. The only thing that you'll have to do is you'll have to pay for the postage and postcard, which Sierra Nevada Properties has. I think it used to be Express Docs, but Alana, when I was working with you, I think it might be something different now.
No, it's Express Docs, and I just did 2 mailers to my farm area, and it worked out. I sent out just under 300 postcards, and they were about 85 cents a piece. That was for the postcard and the mailer. And Cassie will design your postcard for you. You can tell her what you want to put on it. You can pick something that's already, like Patrick said, that's pre-done and customize it, or you can come up with something on your own. Like I have them here because they both ended up in the mailbox at the same time, which was not my plan. Not my plan. But anyway, I don't know if you can see it, but no, it's got statistics on it anyway. It's got the average price, and then this is the average for my area. Anyway, you can't see it. But Cassie designed it for me, which costs nothing. Well, I shouldn't say it costs nothing. It's in our it's included in our monthly fee that we pay Daryl. So all of the support we get from Cassie and from Jeremy and from Kristen, that's what that money is for.
Perfect.
I
So
have a question about the documents that you just sent over.
Mhm.
Do you know how I can access them like you did, where I just type it in and it adds everything up for me?
yeah, I'm just
Am I just not
thinking
downloading it properly? Or?
I might have sent you guys only the standard PDF and not the interactive one. So I'll send out the interactive one here soon, just to make sure, because I'm thinking through, and I think I only sent you the standard one. So I'll send that over, and it should auto calculate all the numbers for you. Saves you the calculator time, which is really nice.
Great, thank you.
And to answer your question about farms, Jilly, we are happy to provide those. We're pretty lickety split fast. So if you guys need any farms whatsoever, feel free to send us an email or give me a call. Just and even if you don't know where to start, just let us know, hey, I need a farm. What do I do? And then we'll help you from there. So
Awesome. Thank you.
In order
Of course.
to figure out the name of an area that you want to farm, would you check that out on the assessor's page?
Yeah, you can definitely look on the assessor's page to check it out. We're able to pull almost anything in the state of Nevada.
So if I just gave you an address, you'd be able to pull up that general housing development?
Yeah, of course. Yep, we'd be able to pull a property profile for it. We'd be able to pull the whole entire housing area. We're more than happy to pull anything for you.
Great.
Okay. Any other questions out there?
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Patrick.
All right.
Patrick.
Thank you, guys. Have a great day and enjoy your next class.